All right, guys, welcome to Body Engineering. I've got an extremely important topic today to cover. Two topics actually in separate videos. How to construct a diet plan for cutting fat and maintaining the muscle that you have, and how to construct a lean bulking plan so that you can gain muscle with the least amount of fat possible.
Alchemist, I'm a chemist with the success. I took the stress, turned it into bless. I took a million haters, turned it to $1 million, and a million fans screaming, hit the stage and they holler.
So we're gonna start right now with the cutting plan. How to set up your diet in order to lose body fat and maintain the muscle that you've gained. Now, I'm gonna be using a tool that I created about 10 years ago. It's the BE Diet Planner tool, and it allows you to do these calculations quickly, effectively, and construct a diet plan within 5 minutes that you can use towards your goals, and you can actually make thousands of variations of that same diet plan in order to fit whatever rules or whatever life situation that you're in now. So I'm gonna go through it step by step. You can find the diet planner at tavicastro.com for $4.99. It's really an invaluable tool if you want to do this quickly, but you can do it without it if you know the formulas and some of the background knowledge which went into programming this sheet. So we're gonna jump straight into it. So the first thing that we need to actually figure out is what is our maintenance calories. So what are maintenance calories? That's the amount of calories that you would on average per day need to eat, not to gain fat or gain muscle, but also not to lose fat or lose muscle. So this is the amount of calories, the amount of energy that you need to take in, which should match up more or less to how much your body is burning. So the importance of that lies in the fact that if you want to grow, you need to eat above maintenance. And if you want to lose body fat, you have to eat below maintenance. So the first thing we're going to calculate in order to figure out how to construct a diet plan towards a fat loss goal is we need to figure out what are our maintenance calories. So the first step is to calculate something called the basal metabolic rate. So this is the amount of energy that your body will burn if you lay in bed all day and do nothing. So essentially the amount of energy that your body needs simply to survive. So when somebody talks about metabolism, as in my metabolism is very high or my metabolism is very slow, they are essentially speaking about their basal metabolic rate, the amount of energy that their body needs simply to survive. Now, some people may have a slightly higher basal metabolic rate or slightly lower, and usually, actually, most of the time, that is very directly related to how much lean mass you have. So, for example, myself, having a lot more muscle mass, which is a lean tissue, my basal metabolic rate will be higher than somebody who has less lean muscle tissue. So that's important to keep in mind, because when somebody talks about my metabolism is going down, I'm dieting too hard, I'm crash dieting and my metabolism is going down. When somebody diets incorrectly, when somebody's eating for a fat loss goal incorrectly, they are also going to be losing muscle in that process. And by losing muscle, your basal metabolic rate is going down, as in the amount of energy your body needs per day to survive goes down. Now, why is that important? You're losing muscle and you have to continuously eat less and less to continue that weight loss. So the ultimate thing during a cutting phase is in fact to maintain your lean body mass exactly where it is through the entire process. If you nail your cutting phase, it means that you have not lost muscle, therefore you have not lost lean tissue, therefore your BMR should stay the same. Your metabolism should stay the same. So let's jump right into it, calculate our BMR, go on to calculate our maintenance calories, and then go on to calculate a cutting diet. And I will be doing a cutting diet for myself to show you an example of how I do it when I start my preps. So let's get right into it. Obviously, the first important variable is your sex, male, female. I'm gonna be using metric, that's kilos. My current weight is 101 kilos, 30 years old, I'm 178 centimeters, and I just recently did a body fat test. Now, this is the next thing that's important in this process. If you can get a body fat tested with an impedance machine, preferably a skin caliper to get a more accurate body fat measurement. That is an important part of calculating your maintenance calories, because the higher body fat percentage you are for your weight, the less lean mass you have, of course. So it's important to try to figure out what is your body fat percentage, and there are many ways of calculating your body fat percentage accurately. My preference always goes to a body fat caliper, preferably digital, so that your pressure as you're doing the skin folds is always consistent. So Google digital body fat caliper if you're interested in measuring your body fat accurately. Okay, so I'm currently about 13% body fat. Now what that gives me is my basal metabolic rate. And the basal metabolic rate is calculated using the Catch-McCarty formula, which relates lean body mass, which is then of course calculated by knowing your weight and your body fat percentage, your age, your sex, and they have loads of empirical data to give you a good rough number to start with. So for me, my BMR is 2,267 calories. So as I mentioned before, what that means for me is that if I was to lay in bed all day and do nothing but breathe and live, my body would need about 2,200 calories simply to survive. So that's a good basis to start the next step. Here you have a calculator that you can use if you have the skin calipers. So now we're going to go on to the next tab, the goals. And the next question we need to ask ourselves is, how active are you? Because of course, if you're training 3 times a week or 6 times a week, that's going to affect what your maintenance calories are. The more active you are, the higher your maintenance calories will be, and essentially the more you can eat. So myself, I train 6 times a week. My job is quite sedentary. I'm behind the computer, I'm making music. So I'm not, I'm not a construction worker or something like that. But I do train very intensely twice a day with my cardio and my weight sessions. So for myself, I'm gonna use athlete and bodybuilder 5 times per week training plus active work as the activity level, which you can see is kind of a good state to be in if you're training twice a day sometimes. Now, what is the current goal? I'm gonna set it first to maintenance, okay? So as I mentioned, the magic number you need to learn about yourself is based off of where you are now, your activity level. What is your maintenance calories? How many calories can I eat per day and not gain, but also not lose? Now, if you look here, I can eat about 3,700 calories a day, and I will not gain or lose any muscle or fat, okay? So that's my basis. What that allows me now to do is if I wanna cut fat, I need to be underneath those calories. If I wanna gain muscle, I need to be above those calories. Now, some of you who may be working with this sheet, may compare yourselves to my maintenance calories, and your maintenance calories will be a lot lower. That makes sense, because if I have a lot more muscle mass than you, my BMR is higher, my activity level is quite high. Therefore, I do need to eat a lot more in order to maintain. So those are my maintenance calories. Now, before I continue, I want to talk about cheat day. Okay, so when I'm in my cutting phase, I have 1 day a week where I eat whatever I want, chocolate, pizza, burgers, whatever. But I always give myself the rule that whatever I do on my cheat day, I will not exceed maintenance calories. Why is that important? Because the whole week, if I'm cutting, I'm in a deficit, losing fat. To have a cheat day where I eat above my maintenance calories means that I've actually thrown away some of those days where I've been in a deficit. So if you limit your cheat days to at least maintenance calories, and that's of course if you need a cheat day psychologically, it's not an obligatory thing when you're using this calculator. But if you do, try to limit your cheat days to maintenance. What that will do for you is it'll make sure that at least you're not going backwards, right? So you're progressing, you're losing fat. One day you stay put, and then you continue again. The mistake you want to avoid, you're cutting fat, progressing, and boom, you eat 5,000 to 10,000 calories in a binge, and then you've now gone back to where you were at the beginning of the week or possibly halfway through the week. You want to avoid that. We want to continue the process forward. So that is how you calculate the most important number, your maintenance calories. Now, of course, these maintenance calories may change. So if, for example, this coming week, I know I can only train 3 times, or I'm very busy, or I'm traveling, all I simply need to do is go up here and set my activity level to, for example, 3 times per week. And what you will see is that my maintenance calories have dropped by 300 calories. So what I'm trying to portray to you is your maintenance calories are not a solid number for every life situation. If you're gonna be less active, less training, you're busy traveling, whatever you may be doing, your maintenance calories will be lower. So this is a very important point, because you can lose fat, you can progress by training 3 times a week, 4 times a week, less than 5 or 6, but you will have to be more strict on your calories because your maintenance calories are in fact lower, right? So you're gonna set this back to my actual activity level. Now I'm gonna set this to fat loss. And what my sheet will do is it will give you the daily calories that you should be eating in order to maintain a goal between 1 and 2 kilos of fat loss per week. So I talked about this in a previous video. The sweet spot is 1 to 2 kilos of fat loss per week. Why is that? Losing quicker than 2 kilos, 4.4 pounds per week, you're too depleted, it's too aggressive, you're gonna be very tired, you're not gonna be energetic in the gym. If you have a family, you're gonna be moody and crazy. If you're trying to do creative work, or you have a very intense work, you're not gonna have the energy to basically not feel like you're on a diet. So between 1 and 2 kilos is really a sweet spot. 1 kilo, 2.2 pounds per week is a nice lower range in the sense that you have enough energy to get by, but that's the quickest weekly weight loss that you can maintain without really feeling it too much, and you will see it in the mirror. So it's very important that psychologically you're also able to keep yourself motivated throughout the weeks that you're doing your cutting phase. If you jump into it too hard, too aggressively, you're gonna give up far easier. So 1 to 2 kilos is the sweet spot range. My sheet calculated for me based off of my information that a good goal would be 1 to 1.2 kilos of fat loss per week. So in order to maintain a 1.2 kilos of fat loss per week, I need to eat about 2,422 calories, which is exactly what I did during my contest preps the past 3-4 years. Photo shoot preps, basically my cutting calories are between 2,300 and 2,500 calories a day. So it's perfectly tuned to what I'm doing at the moment. And the next question is, of course, you have the amount of energy you need to bring in. So you know exactly the maintenance. You know that you're gonna eat underneath the maintenance in order to lose 1 to 2 kilos of fat per week. But how do we split those macros, those calories now, between proteins, carbs, and fats in an efficient way that we are maintaining the muscle that we have without, of course, losing muscle? Therefore, our lean body mass goes down. Therefore, our basal metabolic rate goes down. Therefore, our metabolism goes down, which is what we want to avoid completely. So, based off of my own research, my own experience with myself, with clients, I found that the best way to determine the best macro splits for yourself is to look at your body type. So if you have an ectomorph body type, you notice that you need to eat a lot before you gain any weight. You're not very sensitive to carbohydrates. You can eat loads of rice, loads of carbs, and you're not really gaining much. Then you're ectomorph. If you're more like myself, meso, endo, basically I can gain muscle very quickly, but I can also get fat very quickly. My entire family is, in fact, most of them are overweight, but they're extremely strong. So it is very genetic, and it does help to know what your body type is in order to start with the right splits. So for myself, I'm gonna set myself to meso endo, and what that will give me is the optimal ratios for my body type. So when you're ectomorph, you should, in fact, eat more carbs, even on a cutting phase. And when you are meso-endo, your macros will be higher in protein, because that will be a better correlation, a better strategy to use, because as a meso-endo, your response to carbohydrates, your insulin response is different to somebody who is ectomorph. Okay? So I'm gonna move on. So my macro ratios will be 45% protein, 35% carbs, and 20% fat. So now we have the calories, now we have the macro splits, which means we should now be able to construct a diet plan which will fit these rules for me to lose 1 to 2 kilos of fat per week. So I go on to the diet planner, and what I have here is rows for the meals. I'm gonna construct this very quickly. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about the different options. You can download the diet planner from tavicastro.com with some more tutorial videos on how to even go into carb cycling or into contest preps with this sheet. But as you can see here, here are the magic numbers which we just calculated, the daily goal. So 2,422 calories a day in order to maintain a fat loss of 1 to 2 kilos per week, a 45, 35, 20 split, which means that I'm gonna be eating 272 grams of protein, 212 grams of carbs, 54 grams of fat. There we are. Those are the magic numbers. Now I'm gonna construct a diet plan in order to match up to those requirements. So here we go. The first step, how many meals should you be eating per day? Now, the rule of thumb that I use is split your calories into meals that are at least 400 to 600 calories per meal. Eating less than 400 calories per meal, you're basically snacking all day. It's not convenient. You're gonna be hungry too often. 400 to 600 is kind of the magic range. So if I'm eating 2,400 calories a day, then I can eat 4 meals at 600 calories, or for example, 5 meals at about 450, 500 calories. Now I do intermittent fasting, which means that my eating windows are either 8 hours or 4 hours a day. So I do a 16-8 or a 24 fast. So for me, it's just more convenient. I'm gonna make it 4 meals of 600 calories each. So up here, I will select 4 meals. And as you can see, it will add more meals or remove meals accordingly. And depending on how many meals you choose, the planner will actually automatically split up your macros into 8 meals that will add up to the daily goal. I will do 4 meals. So if I just zoom in here, if you were to add up all these meal goals together, you would essentially get the daily goal. Okay, so simple as that. You can determine your macros, you can determine the amount of meals that you should have per day, and those meals will get split up with the macros that you will require to meet the daily goal. So I'm just gonna quickly fill this in now with some of my favorite meals, just basically iterating towards a diet plan that will work. So as I'm filling things in, I'm just keeping an eye over here to see that things are matching up well. And I will just run through all of the meals. You can replace them. The way it works is you select a source list, so protein source, carb source, fat source. And I'm gonna replace that meal with some chicken breast, with some brown rice. And I will cook the chicken breast in some coconut oil. I will eat some broccoli. Here we are. And again, I'm just gonna go in, fill in some amounts here, just keeping an eye on the meal goal as I go along. Over here, missing a little bit of protein. I'll add some more chicken, and that looks pretty good. The first one looks pretty good as well. I'm gonna do a cod with sweet potato meal here. To give you another example, these are the meals that I basically eat during my prep. So a lot of chicken and rice, cod and sweet potato. So here we are again, iterating towards that perfect meal plan. Spinach, you can eat as much as you like. Spinach, cucumbers, pickles, things that are very, very low in calories but very high in fiber. You can basically eat as much as you want. Your body will burn almost as many calories as is contained in the food itself. So don't worry too much about things like that. If it has any relevant amount of calories, make sure you're programming it in here so you're not eating more calories than you should be. So again, taking a look over here, missing a little bit of fat, so I'm gonna add some coconut oil to the cod that I'm gonna eat. There we are. And keeping an eye over here again, missing a little bit of protein. We'll do 300 grams of fish. We'll do 250 grams of sweet potato just to fill out the calories a little bit, and that looks pretty good. Okay, and as a last meal, what I really like to make before bed is some oats with some chocolate protein powder, a little bit of cacao to add the chocolatiness to it, some sweetener, some almond milk, and you get like a chocolate porridge. This is the thing that I really like to eat before bedtime. So I will construct that for you here. Here we are. So the almond milk. Now, just as an example to show you the sheet, here at the bottom, you have protein, carb, and fat source lists. Here you can actually add whatever food items you like. I've programmed the things that I use myself. So here I have Rule 1 whey isolate, which is the current protein powder that I use. So if I was to, for example, type it into here, Rule 1 whey isolate, you know, you look at the label, you fill in all the nutritional information. If you go back to the diet planner, select the correct list, protein source, go down here, Rule 1 whey isolate. I have it twice in there now, of course, but you can put whatever food items you like into this sheet, especially if you're vegetarian or if you're vegan. There's a lot of great substitutes for protein that are not included in the sheet, but you can easily program that in there to make sure that whatever it is you're eating fits within the goal that you're going after. So 2 scoops of whey protein, let's see, 80 grams of oatmeal, 250 milliliters of almond milk, and I'm gonna add some cacao powder. So that's just pure cacao powder, which is actually a great antioxidant. It is a form of fat, of course. And, oops, typo. Yep, there we go. Again, keeping an eye over here. Carbs are a bit too high, fats are good, protein's good. So carbs are a bit too high, so I'll lower the oatmeal to 60 grams. And that looks pretty good. Protein could be a little bit higher. What I could also do is add a level tablespoon of peanut butter just to fill out the fats a little bit more and add a little bit more protein. Peanut butter organic, 15 grams. And then what we have, we're a little bit high on the fats, a little bit high on the carbs, lower on the protein. But before we get too crazy in trying to figure out 0.1 grams and things like that, let's just have a look at the daily total now and see how we've done so far. So if I look over here, protein looks pretty good. Carbs, perhaps a little bit high on the carbs. Fats are perfect and calories are basically perfect. So as I just said, you don't have to get too crazy with, you know, 267.8 grams of chicken or something like that. If this is something that's convenient for you, this diet plan will in fact work for me with my activity level to lose 1 to 2 kilos of body fat per week. Now, once that's done, you can of course go in here and you can change everything out. You can change all the meals. You can make different variations of it. You can have 5 meals instead of 4. You can have 8 meals instead of 4. You can do everything with this sheet in order to create diet plans for yourself that will work for your lifestyle. So guys, I hope that covered how to create a cutting plan for yourselves. I covered the important topics: your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, setting up a weekly fat loss goal, and of course, setting up the actual diet to fit those goals that we just set up. So, hope I covered all the questions. If you want this diet planner, check out tavicastro.com. If you want one-on-one online coaching, I do have online coaching packages available if you need a little bit more help, a little bit more motivation. And if you guys have any other comments, any other questions, or if you would like me to cover any other topics, go down to the comment section, let me know. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment, share it, and I look forward to helping you guys out even further on the next video. with lean bulking.